They cornered her in a dark hotel loading bay alone. He slapped her, mocked her, and ordered his men to force her down, while her loyal German shepherd barked helplessly. But the CEO made one fatal mistake. Just a few steps away, a brown-haired Navy SEAL in full military green camouflage uniform was watching. And he was about to end the encounter before anyone realized he was there. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. They forced her up against the wall, and then he slapped her. Lena, the 27-year-old dark-haired K-9 officer in a Navy patrol uniform, felt the impact crack across her cheek like a thunderclap. The world narrowed for a heartbeat to the echo of that sound in the concrete loading bay behind the Glass Harbor Hotel, Savannah's newest luxury monument of glass and steel. Gavin, the 40-year-old brown-haired CEO in a charcoal designer suit, stood inches from her, his hands still raised, his eyes bright with a cold, furious entitlement. A gold watch glinted on his wrist, catching the light from the open service door behind him. "Don't you ever put your hands on me again?" Gavin said quietly, his voice smoother than the blow he had just delivered. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Lena kept her back straight, even as her vision swam for a moment. She could feel every nerve in her face screaming, but her training wrapped that feeling in a distant, controlled box. She glanced past him toward the open parking lane where 3 black SUVs idled, engines humming, headlights carving sharp beams through the humid coastal night. Shadow, the 4-year-old sable-coated German Shepherd K-9, stood at her side, his ears forward, body taut. His badge-shaped collar tag caught a stray ribbon of light as he stared up at the man who Dee just hit his handler. A low, warning growl vibrated in his chest. "Sir," Lena said, forcing her voice to stay even, "you drove through a closed barrier and nearly struck 2 pedestrians and a valet. You are being detained for reckless driving and refusing a lawful order. Step back from me now." Gavin's mouth twisted, halfway between amusement and contempt. Behind him, 2 large men shifted. Marcus, the 38-year-old shaved-headed head of private security, and Joel, the 36-year-old sandy-haired bodyguard, both in tailored black suits with earpieces, watched Lena with flat, professional eyes. "You see, that's the problem," Gavin said, not taking his gaze off her. "You still think this is your city." He flicked his fingers dismissively. "Marcus, disarm her." "I'm done playing." Shadow sensed the shift before Lena did. Marcus took a single step forward, hand already reaching for the holster at Lena's hip. "Stay back," Lena warned, voice sharper now. "You take one more step toward my weapon, and you will be under arrest." The bass from the rooftop party swelled, muffling the rising tension. Somewhere above, a burst of laughter drifted down through the hot night air. No one up there had any idea what was happening in the shadowed loading bay below. 2 blocks away, a different world moved at a slower pace. Cole, the 35-year-old dark-haired Navy SEAL in his military green camouflage uniform, walked alone along the riverfront promenade. Tour boats were tied for the night, their decks empty, their string lights dimmed. Cole listened to the soft slap of water against the stone embankment, the distant horn of a barge, and the quiet shuffle of his boots on the bricks. He had come here to breathe, to let the noise in his head settle. The city's humid air wrapped around him like a heavy blanket, but the routine, the route, the way his eyes scanned every doorway and alley was automatic. He didn't know this city well, but he knew the feeling of it. A place with money piled high on top of old bricks and older secrets. Then he heard it. The sound didn't belong to the river, or the late-night traffic on Bay Street, or the distant music from the rooftop gala. It was sharper, closer, a single, hard crack echoing off concrete. It sounded too much like the start of something bad. Cole slowed, turning his head slightly. The sound had come from the direction of the Glass Harbor Hotel's service entrance. He could see the glow of headlights spilling out from the loading bay driveway between two buildings, carving a bright rectangle into the night. He listened again. A woman's voice, firm but strained, drifted faintly toward him. "Stay back. That's an order." Cole's shoulders tightened. That was a cop. That was a cop in trouble. He didn't run. He simply changed direction, moving off the promenade and up the side street toward the hotel. His pace was unhurried, but every step was deliberate. The few patches of light caught flashes of his camouflage uniform, the only visual hint that he was anything more than a quiet passerby. Back in the loading bay, the air felt thicker. Marcus's hand reached for her holster. Shadow lunged. The German shepherd's bark exploded through the narrow space, sharp and commanding. He surged between Lena and Marcus, teeth bared, front paws skidding on the slick pavement as he planted himself in front of his handler. "Shadow, heel," Lena commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. The dog obeyed, but barely. His muscles trembled with the strain of stopping. Marcus paused, eyes narrowing. "Control your dog, officer." "He is controlled," Lena shot back. "You're the one reaching for a cop's gun." Gavin exhaled slowly, as if bored by the entire exchange. "I don't have time for this." He stepped closer, invading Lena's space again, the cologne on his suit turning the air sharp and artificial. "You're going to let us leave," Gavin said, his tone suddenly gentle, almost paternal. "You're going to pretend this never happened. You're going to remember that your department relies on people like me to keep this city's lights on. And you are going to take your little dog and disappear from my sight." He lifted his hand as if to adjust his cufflink, then abruptly shoved Lena's shoulder, hard enough that she staggered back a step toward the wall. Shadow exploded forward again, barking so loudly that the rooftop music seemed to vanish beneath it. That was the moment Cole stepped into the mouth of the loading bay driveway. From the street, he saw everything in a single glance. The three idling SUVs, the suited guards, the CEO with his hand on the officer's shoulder. The rigid German shepherd braced between them. Cole's eyes flicked from the officer's tense stance to the position of the men around her, and then to the narrow gap between the vehicles and the wall. He understood the situation before anyone noticed he was there. Cole, the 35-year-old dark-haired Navy SEAL in full green camouflage uniform, didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Officer," he said calmly, addressing Lena, "is everything all right here?" Gavin, the 40-year-old brown-haired CEO in a designer suit, turned with irritation flashing across his features. "This is a private matter," he snapped. "Walk away." Cole didn't move. His posture remained straight, his hands relaxed at his sides, but his presence shifted the air itself. He took in the scene in a single sweep. The two guards closing in, the officer pinned near the wall, the tense German shepherd ready to spring. Lena felt something she hadn't felt since the confrontation began: relief, reinforcement. But she kept her voice steady. "Sir, step back," she ordered again. Gavin laughed once, sharp and mocking. "I'm done listening to badges." He nodded toward Marcus, the 38-year-old shaved-headed security chief. "Move her." Marcus reached again. This time, Cole stepped forward. It wasn't dramatic. Just a single smooth movement, placing himself between Lena and the advancing guard. His voice remained calm. "Officer, escort your canine to the vehicle," Cole said without looking back. "I'll handle this conversation." Lena hesitated only a second. She clicked her tongue softly, and Shadow, the 4-year-old sable German shepherd canine, fell into step at her side as she guided him toward her cruiser. Marcus scowled. "Who do you think you are?" Cole met his eyes. "Someone you shouldn't touch." Marcus moved anyway. What followed lasted only seconds. Cole sidestepped, redirecting the guard's momentum, and the man stumbled back against the concrete wall with a shocked grunt. Joel, the 36-year-old sandy-haired bodyguard, lunged next only to find himself effortlessly pushed off balance, landing safely on the pavement, stunned but unharmed. Gavin took an involuntary step back, eyes wide. "This is assault," he sputtered. "My lawyers will—" "No," Cole said, his tone firm but even. "This is self-defense. And she," he nodded toward Lena, "gave you lawful orders you ignored." Before Gavin could answer, the rising wail of approaching sirens echoed down the street, bouncing off the hotel's walls. Someone had called it in. Maybe a valet, maybe a passerby. Either way, backup was minutes away. Gavin's expression twisted. "Let's go," he barked to his security team. The guards scrambled into the SUVs. Gavin glared at Lena one last time before ducking into the back seat of the lead vehicle. The convoy pulled out of the loading bay, tires hissing against the pavement. The moment they were gone, Lena exhaled shakily. "Thank you," she said, turning to Cole. "Just glad I was nearby." They stepped out of the loading bay together, moving on to the quieter hotel courtyard, where soft garden lights glowed against trimmed hedges and polished stone paths, another setting entirely, calmer, sheltered from the confrontation behind them. Shadow trotted ahead, his posture finally loosening. "You handled yourself well," Cole said. Most civilians would have backed down the moment he raised his voice. Lena gave a tired half-smile. "I don't back down from people who think they own the world." "Good," Cole said. "City needs more of that." 2 patrol cars rolled into the courtyard, lights flashing. Officers stepped out, taking statements, assessing the situation. Lena explained everything clearly and professionally. Cole backed her account without exaggeration. When the formalities ended, the courtyard fell quiet again. Shadow nudged Lena's hand, sensing the tension leaving her body. Cole adjusted his uniform cap. "They'll open a case on him," he said. "Might take time, but it'll stick." Lena looked at the dog at her side, then at the man who had stepped in without hesitation. "I'm glad you were walking by." Cole gave a small, rare smile. "Sometimes you end up in the right place." She nodded toward the path leading back to the street. "You heading out?" "Back to base," he said. "Early morning briefing." Shadow let out a low, friendly chuff, as if offering his own thank you. Cole knelt briefly, giving the dog a respectful nod. "You did good tonight." Then he rose, gave Lena one last steady look, and started toward the sidewalk. "Be safe out there," Lena called after him. "You too," Cole answered without turning back. He disappeared down the lantern-lit path, leaving Lena standing with her partner beside the calm hotel garden. The night no longer felt heavy. Shadow nudged her again, and she scratched behind his ears. "Come on, partner," she murmured. "Let's go home." If this story of bravery meant something to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that real strength is steady, patient, and protective. Subscribe for more stories like this. If you still believe courage and kindness can change lives, type Amen in the comments.